Today, Sony announced that they will host a PlayStation 5 gameplay reveal on June 4th, and it will be over an hour-long display of games running on PS5 hardware. So, for all the talk about Sony slow-walking information and people complaining about the lack of news, even though, we're still several months out from release, it appears the giant is finally ready to start shaking things up with the PlayStation 5. And according to reports, Sony was taking notes at the disappointment fans had with the Xbox Series X gameplay reveal, where most of the footage simply wasn't gameplay and certainly didn't give a next-generation vibe. Ventura Beat writes, "So then what will Sony show off next week? Expected to focus on what is possible in next-generation games with the PlayStation 5. The company seems aware of the backlash that Microsoft faced for its first Xbox event. Fans were unhappy with the lack of gameplay at the presentation, and in response, Sony wants to rely on PS5 games that are actually running on real hardware." Now, couple that with the last two major events that Sony has done in just the last few weeks with Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us 2 gameplay deep dives, which, if you just look at the numbers, you look at the talk online, they have been huge successes. And so it seems like Sony knows what gamers want to see, and I really wish we would see more deep dives with gameplay on Microsoft's end as well. So hopefully they're going to take some notes and learn about what's being successful. It's one thing to talk about power, but it's another thing to show it, and it looks like Sony is ready to show it. On top of that, the event coming up on June 4th has reportedly been delayed multiple times because Sony wanted to make sure that their first impression with PS5 was a high-quality studio production and didn't want at-home quality stuff. Again, something Microsoft was criticized for when some of the videos and quality of audio coming out of their reveal looked like it was really recorded on a bargain bin technology from 10 years ago. The former IGN reporter says Sony has tried to do presentations already this year, and I know this from developers who were supposed to be part of this presentations but didn't because for some reason, somewhere in the Sony hierarchy, they were very obsessed with the idea of having a very, very professional stream rather than something previously recorded. So they weren't willing to do anything outside of a massive studio with a crew of 25 to 30 people. And for those devs who were planning to have their games revealed at certain streams, this was very frustrating because they were like, I don't understand why we just can't send you in this footage and have our marketing go out as planned, but PlayStation wasn't having the at-home quality stuff. They were refusing to do it. So all signs are pointing to higher expectations for the June 4th event coming up. Now, there has been some concern that PS5 or Xbox could be delayed due to the current COVID situation, but according to Jim Ryan, COVID has not changed their pricing plans nor their release schedule and says everything is still set for releasing the PS5 globally this year. And then finally, one of the biggest headline grabbers of the day is another interview done with Jim Ryan, where Jim says Sony has no intention of following Xbox and is planning on delivering games that only play on PlayStation 5. So what he's talking about is earlier this year, Microsoft said don't expect first-party exclusive Xbox Series X games for at least a couple of years. They're planning on also releasing the new games that come out on the new system alongside the current generation system of games or consoles. So Halo Infinite, for example, is a launch title for Xbox Series X, but you don't have to upgrade to the Series X in order to play it because it's going to be available on Xbox One. So what Sony is saying is that's not how they're going to roll. They say, quote, "We have always said that we believe in generations. We believe that when you go to all the trouble of creating a next generation console, that it should include features and benefits that the previous generations do not include. And that, in our view, people should make games that can make the most of those features. We do believe in generations, and whether it's the DualSense controller, whether it's the 3D audio, whether it's the multiple ways the SSD can be used, we are thinking it is time to give the PlayStation community something new, something different that can really be enjoyed only on PS5. And so I think that's a smart approach, especially if your goal is to get people to move on to the next generation as quickly as possible. You got to give them a reason to move. And if I can play the same games on my current system that I can play on the next generation system, there's going to be less incentive for me to go ahead and go out and spend a lot of money on the latest, greatest tech. But if Sony is going to take that approach, they've kind of boxed themselves into the corner, because now they've got to show gamers things that they believe are impossible to achieve on current gen system. So they're definitely setting the bar. Now, that's not to say that PS4 isn't going to see any new games, because of course it will. Third parties are going to continue to release on both, because there is still a huge install base there, and they're not going to move over all at the same time anytime soon. But Sony is going to give people who do decide to move over an incentive to do so. So tell me in the comment section, which approach do you like better, Microsoft's or Sony's, when it comes to this next generation in this area? And then finally, when it comes to pricing, Sony was asked, whenever you look at the current economic state and the chance of growing recession, are you worried about releasing a high-priced console? And here's what Sony replied, quote, "I think the best way that we can address this is by providing the best possible value proposition that we can. I don't necessarily mean lowest price. Value is a combination of many things. In our area, it means games. It means number of games, depths of games, breadths of games, quality games, price of games, all of these things, and how they avail themselves of the future set of the platform." So, one thing is for sure, things are certainly heating up, and it's going to be a fun summer as we race towards the release of Xbox Series X and PS5. Stay tuned right here for the latest happenings. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more news. That does it for me, the Red Dragon. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.